What's up, everyone? Today I want to talk a little bit about performance and optimization. And, a lot of people basically have been a bit afraid of what the performance is going to be like. What are the hardware requirements going to be? Will there be multi-core support? I mean, even the Spiffing Brit, I love the dude, but, he's asking about 64-bit because he probably doesn't really understand what's going on and what those things mean. I kind of want to clear that up. And we'll start just by talking about the base performance of Paradox games. Paradox games on my system, built 5 years ago, only use about 30% of my CPU and maybe a gig and a half of memory. So with that information, let's kind of talk about exactly what these things are and why you shouldn't have to be worried. Unless maybe you can't play Paradox games right now, then maybe you should be looking at upgrading because your computer's pretty old, I bet. Or at least something in there is pretty old. So yeah, basically the current version of Clausewitz with the Jomini layer is much quicker than previous titles, I guess, revisions. Yeah, I don't know what you would really call it because previously I guess Paradox was rewriting their code base for each game, and now they have a layer that is essentially Meneth, a programmer for Paradox, kind of talks about it, but it's essentially like a collection of code that allows Clausewitz to be a grand strategy game. When you take Clausewitz, you put this Jomini layer in it, you get the base for a grand strategy game in the Paradox style, right? So really, I don't think that there's going to be a problem. Johan here talks a little bit about his specs, which you can kind of compare to, and he says, it takes 28 seconds to run the first month of Hoi 4, 28 and a half to run the first, year in EU4, and the current version of Imperator takes about 21 seconds to run the first year. So expect more or less the same performance, maybe a little better. If it does end up being a little bit worse, that's also not going to be a problem because it's going to be more or less the same. As for the multi-core support and the 64-bit and all that stuff, I kind of want to clear things up because a lot of people get these confused. These are not the same thing. Multi-core support is basically allowing you to run multiple threads that have different calculations happening at the same time. So you can, calculate this thing while you're also doing this thing over here, and depending on how many cores you have, or virtual cores, and it gets complicated. But depending on how many cores that you have, you can calculate that many things going on at the same time. This has been a feature in Paradox games for a long time, and people just don't seem to get that it is. I don't know why, but they don't. It's a myth. It will never die, but it is what it is. All Paradox games that I own that are being worked on by Paradox have multi-core support, and you can check this yourself. If you want to see if you're using multiple cores with your Paradox game, load up the game, open your task manager, go into resources, and then click the resource monitor, and then go to the CPU tab. You'll see a breakdown. I think there should be a graph by default. I don't know, maybe you have to open a little thing. But you can see every core there, and then, start up a game and run it, and you'll see every core go up because they use them all. As for 64-bit, I think this is, being conflated with the multi-core. 64-bit and multi-core are completely different things. 64-bit allows you to have more memory. That's really all it is. With a 32-bit system, you can have about 4 gigs of memory. With a 64-bit system, you can have some stupid number. I think it's in the thousands or something like that. Something that you couldn't even afford, unless you're some crazy rich dude. But yeah, when I was talking earlier about my Paradox games only maybe use a gig and a half, that's why 64-bit doesn't matter. This game is not the largest map that Paradox has ever had to deal with. It's 7,000 provinces. I think Hoi 4 has something like 10,000 provinces or something like that. They all have, unique things going on in them. I would expect, because of the character system, there's going to be a little bit more processing needing to be done because of that, and maybe you'll see a little bit more of a memory usage and stuff as a result. But realistically, unless this game is incredibly unoptimized, which seems kind of insane since Paradox has been doing this stuff for a long time, there's no way that you're going to reach 4 gigs of memory. We're going to be fine. It's not a problem. Yeah, and we talked about this. And then, the last thing is Johan tweeted today, 9 hours ago, small teaser screenshot for tomorrow's development diary, and the screenshot shows a bit of oratory power here in the tooltip. So I'm thinking maybe we're going to get something about resources, but who knows? Might be a red herring, might just be some random thing that showed up in the screenshot. They didn't even mean to put it there. But yeah, there's a nice photo here. I'll put a link to a lot of this stuff in the description so you can check it out. And, you know, look at the map, look at all the countries and the cool detail and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's about it. If you're worried about performance and you can already play Paradox games just fine, don't be. You're gonna be fine. It's not gonna be a problem. If you can't run Paradox games right now, maybe you should be thinking about upgrading, but also your PC's probably, you know, 10 years old, I would assume, or there's some real old or broken components in there that you might want to think about replacing. So if you have any friends that are kind of worried about this sort of stuff, you know, maybe share the video with them. If you like the message and all that stuff and a little bit of my insight as, you know, a lowly computer science student that has written a bit of code here and there, mostly on servers, not necessarily desktop apps, so, you know, caveats and all that. Feel free to like it. If you hate it, maybe you think I fucked something up, dislike it. And send me a comment, please. I'd love to hear more insight. I study this in school. I love this stuff. I want to hear more. If you got some, you know, crazy thing that I didn't know about, I'd love to hear it. And, yeah, that's about it. If you want to talk a little bit more about this game, Imperator Rome, there we go. I don't know, my brain's dumb. There's a Discord channel that'll be linked in the description. There's a bunch of people in there. We've been talking about, you know, Imperator and stuff, and it's been fun. It's been real fun to, you know, get new ideas from people, see what people are most interested in and all that stuff. So if you're interested in talking more about it and maybe you want to talk with me directly, go check the Discord out. I'm almost always online, but sometimes I don't get messages and stuff like that. But I check it pretty often, and I'm almost always online because it's got a mobile app and all that stuff. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you all later.